What's going on, everybody? Gentleman94 here. Welcome back to Sci-Fi Wednesdays, and today we are back on the Enterprise E. I gotta tell you, this kit has been giving me nothing but trouble. Everything about this kit is just horrendously difficult. Even making these videos is difficult to do. There's just always something going on. Just for example, here I'm attaching the saucer section to the secondary hull, and it is not fitting very snugly. There are huge gaps on both the right and left side of these seams, and I don't know what to do with it. It's just crazy amounts of work that this kit's going to take. I think the only thing I can really do is just dump as much plastic welder as I can on it, fill as much as I can with strips of styrene, maybe throw some super glue or maybe some Mr. Surfacer, something to get this thing together, and just hope for the best. I mean, I don't know what else to do, you know? As it is here, I mean, with this weird flexiness that's going on here, I mean, it's very difficult to attach any parts to the saucer section, because what I want to do is put this hull on there, drop some plastic welder, give it some pressure so that it actually adheres to the saucer, but instead I just flex the dish. I don't actually get a chance to have any solid impact here, so I don't know what to do with it. Also, we need to put on the rear shuttle bay decking as well. That should help to kind of lock everything together, hopefully. So we're going to go ahead and just see what we can do with this rear shuttle bay. I've thrown a little bit of a shim in there, and that should help a little bit here with the flexiness. But now the problem is that this rear shuttle bay decking doesn't actually fit. So I'm going to have to go ahead and do a little bit of work on the inside and slice off part of my shim. Now the reason I put a shim in there is because it actually helps to give the saucer and the secondary hull some connection points. Otherwise, there was a huge gap in between the bottom of the saucer and the top of the engineering hull that just wasn't making any contact. If there's no contact, there's no glue, there's no plastic adhesion, there's nothing. It's just empty space. So this way, take a little bit of a risk, throw some styrene in there. It helps to kind of add some grip to the plastic. This is better. I took off a little slice of it. It's better, but it needs probably a little bit more, because this decking only has one locating pin and one actual hole here in the engineering hull. So I've just got to keep trucking along, you know. Like I said, this kit has not been easy. Every step of the way, it's giving me problems. I'm hoping that it doesn't matter, that it'll still turn out to be a great build, but I'm a little skeptical on if I can actually pull it off. Like I said, this is one of the hardest kits I have ever put together. You know, I don't know what else to say about it. So we're just going to keep pushing it, keep trying, keep on point. That's all we can do. That actually helped there. So that little slice there did help the rear decking here. This is going to be a decent fit. I mean, I'm surprised it actually did go on. So we're going to take some plastic welder, of course, and just run it around the sides. Really make sure that these are as adhered together as possible, because I'm really hoping that with the addition of this rear decking, it will act somewhat as a locking mechanism for the rear of the hull and the top of the secondary hull. So I think that should be a good thing. I really think it's going to really lock these together. So yeah, that's not bad. Now let's take a little bit of plastic welder right around the edge here on the right and left side. That's going to help kind of solidify that into the actual secondary hull. This is going to be hopefully a decent fit. I'm noticing here this is again just a huge seam. It's so annoying, but I'm going to go ahead and put some strips of styrene in there, and that should hopefully help, because I don't want to throw a bunch of filler in there, because that may crack and also require sanding. And I also don't want to put just a ton of super glue in there, because that will also require sanding. And I don't really want to sand too much in there, because I'll obliterate the panel lines. But this actually is decent. So I'm going to let this dry, take a couple hour break. I need it. We'll be back. We'll see what happens. Okay, everybody, we are back. This has been drying for a little while. And we also put together the nacelle pylon here and just kind of slapped these together. So this whole section is going to go right into the back of the hull. And it looks somewhat like this. So, I mean, honestly, it's a good looking model. It really is. It's just the fit of these things is so bad. We have one more to do, though. One more nacelle with pylon. And that is probably the bulk of what we're going to be doing today. But I also have to do something else. Let me zoom in here and let me show you what I'm dealing with. This seam line all the way around where the hull meets the saucer section, I was fighting this with plastic welder. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take these strips of styrene and I'm going to wedge them in between the hull and the saucer. That way, it almost acts like a filler, but without having to do a bunch of sanding. I'm hoping this is going to be a good move because I do not want to just dump a whole bunch of stuff in there because I don't think it's going to be a very good look. This way, A, I get more plastic there, so I have more of a bond between saucer and hull, and 2, it'll help to kind of close up the gap without having to do a whole ton of sanding. Because again, there's a lot of raised detail in that area, and it's very difficult to get into those little nooks and crannies. So this way, hopefully, it'll shape up. And again, we're just going to use plastic welder. If you ever build this kit, trust me, get yourself a lot of plastic welder. It'll just be a good move. Because really, this plastic is thick. It doesn't really feel like it wants to bond with itself. So plastic welder will melt the plastic and really get that adhered together. It's just a good idea. So you should have some anyway, because it's great for things like this. But yeah, definitely if you're going to build any of these kits, get yourself some plastic welder for sure. So this is decent. I'm going to go ahead and do this all around the entire gap here, around the hull and the saucer. And I'm just going to keep dropping some styrene in there, and I'll show you what we have when we get done. Okay, here we go. I have run an entire strip all the way around the saucer and the engineering hull. It looks good, but I can't really tell what it's going to look like until I actually slice this off and fare it all together. So after that, yeah, let's let that dry and let's move on to some of these panel lines in the back here. I wanted to go ahead and fill some of these up because there are a lot of little gaps and chunks that are missing. And I think I can use a little Mr. Surfacer and really get this looking decent. So let's go ahead and do it, see what comes up. Okay, so I spent a good portion of time going through and really dropping some of that Mr. Surfacer into the different areas. And then I went over it with the fingernail polish remover that has acetone in it, and that helps to kind of liquefy the putty and kind of send it where it needs to go. All right, everybody, so we are back and we are going to be working on the nacelle. Whew, boy, the first nacelle was notoriously bad because none of the plastic parts fit. The nacelle had poor fit around itself. It was just crazy. So this way, we're going to go ahead and do a little work on this one, and I already have an idea about how I want to do this. I want to kind of match the way I did with the other nacelle, and I want to put in some plastic inserts for the Bussard collectors. Now to do that, I'm going to have to hollow out some of the frame around these large windows here. Now, nacelles here are difficult. The first one was very hard to do, and this one hopefully will be easier because I kind of have a pattern down. I know what I have to do. The fit for this one is a little bit better, I will admit. It's a tiny bit better. With my hobby knife, I'm just going to slice out the inside framing so that it's opened up, and that should suffice. What I'm going to do differently this time, though, that I didn't do in the original one, is I'm going to leave the little shelf tabs on the inside that were originally meant for the plastic inserts. I'm going to leave those because I think that will help. It'll help give the insert that I'm going to create out of styrene, it'll give it a place to rest. I think that's a good idea. So I'm just going to go around all these sides on both halves. I'm going to remove the frame. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut a couple of these styrene discs and give it a try. And we'll see what we can come up with. Stay tuned. Okay, so I've been working about an hour or so, custom cutting and shaving and sanding and doing all these sorts of things. And I've been able to do one half of the nacelle, and I'm working on the last nacelle right now. And we've created our custom inserts. We drew them out. We have cut them down, and I'm actually installing the last one now. And it looks decent. This has actually gone together way easier than the very first one. Now that I kind of know the procedure, this is turning out decently. And here we go, everybody. This is the finished nacelle. We have the pieces together. We have the little inserts installed, and we have the top of the nacelle glued in together as well. So now we're going to take some plastic welder, of course, and we're just going to work from the tip to the end of it and then around the top. We're just going to get all of this glued in and really take our time making sure that these seams are as thorough as possible. All right, so while that dries, I wanted to go ahead and create the pylon that's going to hold up the nacelle and attach it to the secondary hull. To do that, it's just two pieces of pylon, the inner and the outer, or upper and lower, whatever you want to call it. And it's not actually that hard. There's like two locating pins. There are a little bit of areas of flash we need to kind of remove from that, but it doesn't look too bad. I think this is going to be an easy assembly. It's just really two pieces. It's an upper and a lower. That's it. So it should be pretty simple to put together. The other one wasn't too bad either, and I didn't do it on camera. I did it off camera, but this will give you an idea of what I actually did. Really, it's just a matter of cutting it off the sprue, taking off the last of the sprue connections, then taking care of some of the flash, and gluing it. That's it. They could use a little bit of sanding here and there, but with your sprue cutters and some jeweler files, maybe a little sandpaper if need be, this should go together. Probably one of the easier assemblies of this entire model, because this has not been an easy model to build, as I have said before. So that's nothing new there. So we'll take a little bit of plastic welder, put these together, drop some plastic welder around the joints, call it a day, let that dry for a bit, and then we're going to attach it to the nacelle. So let's do it. All right, so everything is looking good. Everything is dried on the pylon, and I'm attaching it now to the nacelle. This is going to be really the last assembly portion of the kit. So I'm pretty excited to have gotten this far and not thrown this across the room or blown it up. So we're really, really close to the final assembly. And all the final assembly is going to be is attaching the nacelles and pylons onto the secondary hull. That's it. A little bit of plastic weld will really help to kind of, hook these joints together. And we are going to be finally done with assembly. And let me take care of this real quick, because there is a bit of a burr here on the end of this nacelle pylon. So I want to go ahead and remove that, make sure that it's nice and smooth and it fits into the locating hole here on the secondary hull. Just a couple of swipes with the jeweler file should be sufficient. It's not too bad, just a little bit of a roughness to it. So just sand this off. That's actually pretty good. All right, now let's slip this into the hole. Yes, all right. The fit isn't too bad. It's canted a little bit at an angle forward, but that can be adjusted, I believe. So that should be decent. Yeah, all right. And maybe a little bit of a shim or something to kind of kick it up a little bit too, because it hangs lower. Let me put the other one on here. And again, just slip that one right in. Nice. Oh boy. So this is basically the completed kit. I mean, I haven't glued these nacelles to the hull yet because I wanted to do a little work on some of the panel lines on the back section of the hull. But you can kind of get an idea of how big this thing is. It's pretty big. I think the box measures it at 19 inches. So it's a decent length. And I mean, I like the Enterprise E because it looks aggressive. It looks very cool. But I got a lot of work to do, guys. As you can see here, I've got to redo the entire back section, got to sand some of these panel lines down. It's going to be a while before this thing is ready for paint, but I'm going to do my best. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Join us next time, where hopefully we'll be ready for some paint. We do a lot of work off camera. We'll see how far we get. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week on Sci-Fi Wednesdays.